I believe it was the poet and philosopher Samantha Janus that once said, "A message to your heart, walk on by until you hear the voice of conscience cry." Well, I hear the voice of conscience, and I've cried, and now I'm going to tell you why. Well, it's finally happened, ladies and genitals. Bruxelles. Doctor Who has completely jumped the shark. It's nuked the fridge. It's whatever fuck up clusterfucker metaphor you wish to use. It's over. It wouldn't matter now, I don't think, if Doctor Who ran for another 30 years and each and every episode of Doctor Who to come was of the finest quality, the greatest drama, the most affecting writing that we've ever experienced in television. Unfortunately, it would be too late, because finally they went there. Russell, you succumbed to your worst instincts and you commissioned the episode that you've dreamt about since you were a boy. That's right, the Doctor Who version of the Eurovision Song Contest, the Interstellar Song Contest. There was a certain crushing inevitability about it. Ever since we'd known you were coming back, we sort of knew something like this would happen. It was a statement episode. It was an episode that affirmed the show's tone and direction under you. It was a distillation, if you will, and frankly, even if you won't, of everything that old Doctor Who fans criticise about the new Doctor Who, namely that it's ceased to become a programme in its own right. It ceased to become a science fiction serial entertainment, that was designed to be a sort of multi-genre exploration of the human condition, and it's become a propagandizing vehicle for LGBTQ plus activism. Just a little bit, a little bit more, just a little bit, you know what I'm looking for. You can get away with saying that's not the case, I think, in episodes where you've just got the occasional, blunt, on the nose, ham-fisted, incongruous, crowbarred-in remark or comment or something which affirms a certain view of life. But when you have a whole episode built around those ideas, it's a sort of balls-out exercise. I mean, this was really Doctor Who's coming out party, wasn't it? There can be no doubt after this. Not only is the Doctor just another gay man who goes to Pride and meets fucking Graham Norton there. Graham Norton! As if the Doctor would ever talk to Graham Norton. And he's just a guy who loves Eurovision so much that he went to, the 1974 contest and met ABBA. Now, to be fair, it wasn't confirmed that it was this incarnation of the Doctor that went to that contest. It could have been William Hartnell. Somehow, I just can't picture the man that you and I consider to be the first Doctor to just be listening to those songs and tapping his toe. Can you? Can you imagine Tom Baker being there? I don't think Peter Davison was chomping at the bit to get to Eurovision either. So, this was, for me, a bit of a depressing episode. I can imagine those that wrote it high-fiving themselves. I can imagine you all I'm addressing you now, Roussel, and everyone involved in the production. Hugging and crying and laughing and high-fiving and backslapping and saying, this is the stuff, this is what we want. Finally, we've remade this show in our own image. It was written, allegedly, by, I thought initially perhaps Larry Grayson.
What a gay day.
But Juno Dawson, who a transgender writer, who wrote a book subtly titled This Book is Gay. Bit on the nose, maybe. But hey, why not? Why be subtle? Why identify as anything other than someone who's obsessed with their own identity? Why not let that be your sole preoccupation in life? She's written some Doctor Who and Torchwood novels. So Juno is someone with a Doctor Who pedigree. I've not read her novels, and you haven't either, but maybe they were good. I don't know. I don't want to prejudge it, though I have. Because having seen this episode, I'm inclined to say, well, thank you, Juno, for your contribution to the Doctor Who universe, but let's not do it again. It's good of you to try. Thanks for coming. Thanks for injecting it with your humour. The Doctor manoeuvring through space with a confetti cannon was hilarious, wasn't it? For you. I tried to laugh, but I couldn't through the tears. You can't imagine another, mega sci-fi franchise taking a diversion like this. You know, Andor, which has just concluded, universally agreed, I think, not universally, but the consensus opinion is it is a serious piece of drama, serious piece of writing, a TV novel that's gained much critical acclaim. You can't imagine 2 episodes, before the climax, Cassian and his girlfriend going off to a foam party on planet Ibiza, can you? That wouldn't happen. Tony Gilroy didn't think, oh yeah, well, we're involved in the ongoing story arc, but let's just piss about and take a diversion and go off and do something stupid. It happened on Doctor Who. It's happened. At the time of recording, I don't know if this episode has been transmitted. There was some talk that it would not be because of the FA Cup final. If, as we think and hope, Crystal Palace take Man City into extra time and beat them, then this will not go out. You'll have to go on iPlayer or Disney Plus to see this episode. Which would make it the first episode ever of Doctor Who not to be transmitted on TV. Would that be such a bad thing? If you skip this one, would it be so... Well, the problem is, I think Juno Dawson was alive to that possibility, as was Roussel. So there's a lot of stuff that's been put into this episode to make it sort of essential. A bit of foregrounding for the finale and a major revelation at the end, albeit one that's highly predictable and frustrating, that sort of means you kind of have to watch it. You have to get through all of the crap, or Ryland, Clark, Graham Norton, all of that shit, to get to the 2 scenes that actually matter in terms of the ongoing story. And we'll come to those momentarily. before we get into the strange aspects of this episode, there are things, it's lots we could talk about. But let's talk about Rylan Clark. Rylan Clark, as you know, universally loved camp TV presenter. If it's intended for a young, sexually diverse audience, well, Rylan's your man. He's the one you'd want. You would want him to present the Interstellar Song Contest. We learn in this episode the contest is taking place in the year 2925, 900 years from now. And they've got Rylan, not an approximation of Rylan, the real thing, by putting him in cryogenic suspension. So they can bring him out and he can present the contest. The problem is that this was the 803rd Interstellar Song Contest, which means that it started 97 years from now. So they put Rylan in freezing 97 years before they knew they'd need him. Well, how does that work? Later, we learn from Graham Norton, or the holographic recreation of Graham Norton, which is slightly less animated than the real thing, that all of Earth was destroyed next week. The entire planet blown to smithereens. We already know this, of course. The Doctor doesn't know this. Now he does. Some catastrophe befalls the Earth and all of human civilization is destroyed to such a degree that in the future they don't know what Earth is. You remember? In the well, the woman went, Earth? I don't know. I've never heard of it, mate. It's gone. It's gone, and all of human civilization has gone, and all human culture has gone, as it would do if the planet exploded. Because everything we've got to record and categorise our cultural achievements is on world in 2025, isn't it? And yet, somehow, Eurovision survived as the abiding cultural meme of humanity, along with artefacts like costumes and props and video footage. The Eiffel Tower didn't survive, the human race didn't survive, but Eurovision did survive. The Eurovision Song Contest, a silly kitsch event that no one outside of Europe gives a fuck about, with the exception of Australia and Israel, and we'll come back to that. The implication in this episode, if you can believe it, was that faced with the end of civilization as we know it, somebody had the idea, presumably in the few minutes before all the world was destroyed, to preserve Rylan Clark. Not get all the world's geniuses together, put all our great think tanks, or let's make sure they survive. Keep the world leaders, we'll keep, Tony Gilroy, make sure he survives. Who should we preserve? What about Rylan? What about Rylan Clark? Yeah. Let's make sure he doesn't die. Who could imagine a universe without Rylan? I like Rylan. But would Rylan be the first person that they think of? I mean, what if when human society recovers in the future, we want to have another series of dating naked? Yeah. We better preserve Rylan then. Can we put him in some sort of cryo tube that will definitely keep him alive indefinitely? Yeah. What? And this is just in the first fucking 2 minutes. And already your head is beginning to hurt and you're thinking, what? This is weird. This is just fucking weird. And then the plot kicks in. And the plot is about a group of aliens from a neglected part of the galaxy which has been firebombed to mine certain resources, which the corporation who sponsor the contest advertise. This product, poppy honey. Poppy, it's quite an evocative bit of symbolism, isn't it? It makes you think of war. Makes you think of the First World War. Makes you think of a war of attrition. Makes you think of trench warfare. Makes you think of a senseless conflict on a foreign land. What could Juno Dawson be thinking about? Well, toward the end of the episode, we kind of get an idea, don't we? She says, look, in this Eurovision Song Contest, Interstellar Song Contest, which of course is supposed to be apolitical, if it's followed the rules of the Eurovision Song Contest, no politics, remember. All the songs are supposed to be about love and tolerance and understanding. It's supposed to be a unifying thing. That's what it's become. The voting's political. It's a highly political thing behind the scenes. But on screen, it's all about, acceptance and love and joy. All the things that Doctor Who is now allegedly about. Wasn't fucking about those things for the first, 26 years of its existence. But now it is. The implicitly transgender singer who represents the same race of aliens that hijacked the contest with the aim of killing 3 trillion people. Says, okay, I'm now going to sing a song, and I'm going to sing a song about my people. And the song is political, isn't it? Inherently political. It's about, an oppressed people who have had a lot of propaganda against them. They've been branded as, despicable and awful and basic and medieval in their attitudes. Okay, they've just committed an act of terrorism, which sort of suggests that maybe there may be something in it. They're going to commit the equivalent of about, 100 billion 9/11s. But don't worry about that. I know it's more than 100 billion, by the way, but I don't do maths. You work it out. Put it in the comments. Tell me how many 9/11s 3 trillion victims constitutes, please. I'd like to know. I suspect you want to know too, don't you? So, she sings a song, and it's very moving, and there's not a dry eye in the house, even the terrorists cry. And then you think to yourself, hang on a minute, is this a comment on Palestine? Could it be? Maybe. Is it just my imagination? You see what this show's done to me now? I'm looking for the messaging all the time, because it's all about messaging, isn't it? It's all about political messaging. And in an episode like this, where the messaging is so crude and blatant, and just so sort of cack-handed, you think, well, maybe that they've just decided to stick this on the end. There's no reconciling the ending of this episode with the real Eurovision Song Contest, because, for example, the contest that's due to go out tonight, which the BBC hope to, have this episode of Doctor Who as a run into, includes a song by the great European state of Israel. And it's performed by a lady who survived the October the 7th Hamas incursion into Israel. She had to hide in a shelter on a pile of corpses to survive. And she will be performing Israel's song in the final. And it's not a political song, because it's not allowed to be. It's just a song. But it's interesting that this episode of Doctor Who is due to go out before that contest, featuring that singer. That's interesting, isn't it? A little bit of political tension there. You might say two opposing worldviews, one after the other, on BBC One. Is this why Ncuti Gatwa, the man now posing as a doctor, your gay best friend, the man who doesn't bear any real resemblance to the Doctor of old, but is Russell T Davies' idealised Doctor? He is, isn't he, Roussel? Come on. This is how the Doctor would always have been if it had been up to you. Is this why he's not doing the scores for the UK? He pulled out, which is not like him. He pulled out. Sophie Ellis-Bextor's doing it now, which works for me fine, but is that why he pulled out? Did he see this episode of Doctor Who finally? And maybe he only read his own script pages. And then somebody showed it to him. He's like, oh, fucking hell, is that a thing about Palestine? Oh, I can't be. And you want me to go on the real thing after that's gone out? Is that why he's not doing it? I don't know. I'm inclined to think that Ncuti likes the Eurovision Song Contest, so he'd be there otherwise. Maybe he's embarrassed by this episode. You wouldn't think so, because it is the most unashamedly, crudely gay episode of Doctor Who ever made. But maybe. Now, I know some of you are gonna just say, well, Ed, why do you have to frame that as a sort of pejorative? Isn't it great to celebrate homosexuality and diversity on TV? Sure, but that's not really Doctor Who's function. There's nothing wrong with it, except that if you spend all of your time doing that, what aren't you doing? You're not telling great, original sci-fi stories that are going to live long in the memory, because they're great original sci-fi stories. The only thing anyone will remember about the Interstellar Song Contest is that hilarious bit where Ryland came out to present from a cryotube. They'll remember that long after the rest of it has completely faded from memory, which I would expect to be about 24 hours after it's been seen. This isn't the way, Roussel. You're so intent on making Doctor Who this sort of, I don't know, pride standard bearer, that you're making it a real bore for the rest of the audience, who have no interest in this sort of, vapid identity politics at all, and just want to watch Doctor Who. Remember Doctor Who? So, there were two elements in this episode. Two elements which actually were relevant. Unfortunately, they're only relevant in the context of the next two episodes, the finale. This was an otherwise pointless diversion, an otherwise waste of a good episode, but there were two elements that were noteworthy. First of all, when the Doctor was floating in space and not dead for some bizarre reason. I know, they were in an air pocket or some weird shit. Who knows? But he saw Susan, played by Carol Ann Ford, who is now 160 years old. And there she was. A vision. Come and find me, grandfather. Linking right back to William Hartnell's era. Except, of course, William Hartnell, as we know, is no longer the first Doctor. So, that's kind of problematic, and that's all been fucked up. The other thing that reminded you of how the continuity has been fucked up by Chris Chibnall is the appearance at the end of a bi-generated Rani. Yes, Mrs. Flood turned out to be the Rani, as we all suspected. But after 2 seasons of building up Anita Dobson as his character, weirdly, mystifyingly, she was bi-generated. Oh, God. On the eve of the finale. So there are now 2 Ranis. There's the sort of redundant one played by Anita Dobson, Angie from EastEnders, and the new one. Now initially, this is baffling. First of all, it's very depressing to see bi-generation make a comeback. Regeneration has been ruined as a concept. This bi-generation idea makes no fucking sense at all. That when someone dies, they'd split into 2 people and the original person would remain living. That doesn't make any sense. Regeneration is a nice, simple idea. The body dies, it reforms in a new configuration, and it goes on. It has regenerated. That makes sense. It makes sense that the face changes, but the clothes remain the same. Again, here we had a bi-generation where the new Rani came out fully clothed in a different set of clothes. The universe knew how to make her a new set of clothes? I mean, how on a cellular level do you generate clothing? So why do it? Why build up Anita Dobson as the Rani and then have her bi-generated on the eve of the finale? Why have 2 Ranis? And when the primary Rani, the definitive article, as she called herself, is done. One's to the other one. She going to join David Tennant at home and watch Tipping Point? A life of boredom and depression? Well, they can do it together, can't they, in domestic hell? I hate the idea of all these sort of old redundant Time Lords with nothing to do, because their new bi-generated self sort of takes over their job and their livelihood and their ideas and their impetus and their zeal and their lives, leaving them with nothing to do. Who thought this was a good idea, Roussel? Did you come up with this, really? You? This wasn't Chris Chibnall's idea, was it? And you just sort of promised to use it and then you couldn't get out of it.
But it feels so strong. Why do I always get it wrong?
Unfortunately, I was left with the conclusion in the context of this episode that the only reason to bi-generate the Rani at the end of this episode was so you could introduce a Rani of Indian extraction before the end of the series. Wouldn't do to have the Rani be an old white woman, would it? Not on this show. We've had a master of Asian origin. We should have the equivalent with the Rani, right? But fucking hell, you're running out of time. I better bi-generate the Rani at the end. Isn't it just going to make the finale more confusing with two Ranis in it? It's nice that the Rani's back, but not like this. This is just silly. So, what more can be said about the Interstellar Song Contest? I don't know. It ended with a political song. The wrong song. It should have really have ended with this song.
One step at a time. Ooh, yeah. Another week, another day. When I call your miles away, in the arms of another. Now my friends say I'm crazy. Night after night I'm waiting. You say that I'm wrong, then you tell me that I'm running on too strong. One step at a time. One reason to put this love on the line again. Can't believe that it's true, and I'm one step at a time. One step at a time. One step at a time.
Don't you think? If there's a Eurovision song with time in it, you use that. Here he is, unfrozen from the 21st century. Please welcome Michael Ball. Would have been great. But no one had the wit to do that, or indeed the Eurovision knowledge. Anyway, next week, ladies and genitals, boys and girls, Roussel, it's the finale, the last 2 episodes of Doctor Who, properly. Asterix, properly. And what a clusterfuck it's looking like it's going to be. Almost as laboured as that sentence. I can't say I'm looking forward to it, really. I'm sure there's going to be a hell of a lot of incident and no logic. And it's all going to end in a very strange place as Doctor Who enters limbo for what on this evidence should be a very very long time. Until next time, love and peace and unity to everyone in the world. I'm Dr. McAvoy, it's not my real name. I love you, etc.
One step at a time.